Okay, next up we are going to invite Karen Hoffman up, and she's going to talk about living a new normal with long COVID. Karen's the founder of Gateway to Dreams, a 501c3 nonprofit, and the Business Lodge, and is co-author of 2 books, The Art of Barter and Contracts, Connections, Collaboration.
Not contracts, he's the contract guy.
Oh, contacts.
Contacts.
Sorry, contracts are on my mind today. My apologies. Contacts, Connections, and Collaboration, Building Your Business Through Relationships. Recognized as 100 People to Know in St. Louis by the Small Business Monthly, Karen has received awards from several organizations, including the former Regional Commerce and Growth Association, the Small Business Administration, the International Business Matchmaker Award, along with others. Karen's passion is for helping entrepreneurs. She has also found a new passion for rat dogs, as Tom Ruich would say, otherwise known as Chihuahuas. Without further ado, please welcome Karen.
Okay. So I want to admit this is a different type of conversation for me to have. Normally, I am all about business ideas and business tips, and this is pretty personal, but hopefully it will be helpful, and it doesn't have to be long COVID that affects your life. It could be anything. But I do have a new normal due to COVID. And how many in the room had COVID? Is it 100%? Not everybody? Cool. Cool that you didn't. How many did it impact your life in some way, though, whether it was you or someone else? So November 4th is the official day that I knew something was wrong with me in 2020. It was my son's birthday. Sit down. Were you standing the clicker? Can you just sit down? Sure. Because I don't want you to stand while I talk. But my son, it was my son's birthday, and I couldn't have his birthday party. He's an adult, so he had no problem with that, but I did. A few days later, when I was tested, I had long COVID. I had COVID. Mine was not, my husband got it. He was sick for 3 days and lost his sense of smell and wasn't even that sick. Mine started previous to the 4th, and it lasted for about 3 weeks. Twice I was in the hospital because my pulse or my blood oxygen had dropped very low. So you're kind of like you're through it. My temperature returns to normal, but I'm not the same. And yeah, you're just going to take a little while, and you're going to recover. And so what the biggest thing I noticed is I'm someone who's on the go. I'm a workaholic. I love working, and that's like I'm not about the lake. I'm about working, which is kind of strange in itself. But I was sleepy all the time. And in fact, how long COVID has worked for me is yesterday I missed an appointment because I fell asleep during the day, which is not me. So long COVID has just really rocked my world. Some of you may have experienced, are new people that did. My hair started falling out in early January. I had it in November, but in January my hair started falling out. I had chemotherapy for stage 3 ovarian cancer, and I did not lose as much hair going through chemo as I lost from the COVID. It was literally, I brushed my hair, you have your little trash can in your bathroom, and it would get full of hair. But I also wasn't worried about it. For some reason, it was just like I was so grateful to be here. Because I didn't have, and I had thick hair, so I'll just have thinner hair. There were other symptoms that started. If you'll turn to the next one. Almost everything on here happened to me for the long COVID. My husband and I love to walk at this at the Wentzville Flea Market. I don't know how many of you have been there, but it's a really good long walk. And the first time I attempted it, I slept the rest of the day. I couldn't do it. I didn't have the smell and taste thing. I had a chronic cough. The brain fog, in the beginning, it was a different feeling that I'm going to share what happened next. Thirsty all the time. I've had some chest pains, fatigue. Could skip that next one, but didn't have the dizziness. I can't say gastrointestinal. I guess I just did. And then sometimes I would even have tremors. Next page. And then I became like, I have to figure this out. I have to find out what is wrong. I am not going to live with long COVID. I'm not going to live with it. And so my doctor, immediately he just retired, but I have this wonderful, wonderful primary care who listens to you and actually believes anything you say. And he immediately put me through all kinds of testing. But he said, Karen, we don't know much. We just don't know much about long COVID. Then I was advised to work with Washington University's long COVID, which was good and bad, and I'm going to share that in a minute. I also took a sabbatical from our nonprofit. My board, I've been really blessed that who's ever been on my board since we started, they're wonderful. This particular board was like, Karen, you're what's important to us. You have to take time and figure this out. So I went to Washington University's long COVID, and I always like to hear the bad news first. I'm going to say the thing I didn't like, and then the positives. There was a nurse practitioner there that saw me well-versed in long COVID. She decides I have asthma-like symptoms, and so she provides a prescription for me to use an inhaler. And I knew I didn't. I don't know the rest of you, but you know your body, you know things. But I tried it for a little while, and during this time, I'm not just seeing, I'm seeing specialists, lung specialists, heart specialists, our insurance is really good. I could see anyone I wanted. I went to I went to 2 different types of doctors for sleep apnea, which I'd already had. And when I went to the lung doctor, a pulmonary guy, he says, why did they prescribe that medicine for you? I said, I don't know, but I just didn't feel it. He goes, that person had no right to, they're not a specialist. They gave you a prescription you don't need. One thing that this guy did too is he went back to when I was in the hospital, and if you'll remember at the height of COVID, no one could go with you. You went in there on your own, you're sick as a dog, and you don't have anybody watching out for you, right? And I'm in there the first time, and they take my chest x-ray, and I never hear anything back. But he's looking at my chest x-rays from a couple of years before, and he said, you had pneumonia. I was always going, I was one of the lucky ones. I had long COVID, but I didn't have pneumonia. But he said, you had pneumonia, and you've got some scarring now on your lungs. But there was like, who am I to figure this stuff out? If somebody says I have this new whatever, what do I do? Who do I listen to? But I just kept going on myself, trying to figure it out. The physical therapist was wonderful. For one thing, they got me up to being able to do more. But they also told me, and I think this is kind of important for a lot of people, pace yourself. When you go, don't stop walking, but when you go, you have to rest. So I learned that when I would do this, now I go with my husband, and I stop 3 or 4 times, and I rest, and then I'm not worn out when I get, and so for anybody else that you get really winded, maybe we need a rest. The occupational therapist told me the same thing about being on my computer. I could be on my computer really all day. I love doing, part of my thing is I love introducing people, and it gives me a little high up here. For some reason, making money doesn't give me the same kind of high as helping people. They can't help me with that yet. I haven't found a doctor to help me with that yet. But they said, take breaks. Get up from the computer. What would happen is I was over-tiring my brain, and I was sometimes falling asleep at a computer. That was unknown for me. Then I went to a neurologist, and there's 2 points I want to make about. I don't know about you, but I always want to know who's the best person I can go to. I actually like to hear it from peers or my doctors, but I had been given 2 referrals for specialists. The first one, I waited 6 months. She was a pulmonary person. And I waited 6 months to see her. They didn't have this option of letting me, like somebody cancels, and they said I was on the list, but I never felt like I was really on that list. But I finally, the day I'm going to go see her, COVID's still real busy and, really, and they send me a notice that I'm not to come in. I'm supposed to be online. And I'm like in my car on my way there. I can't get back home and get hooked up. I missed the appointment. And then the woman has left the practice and they can't book me. So now I have this thing about scheduling specialists 6 months out that I won't do that again. I will go ahead and see someone, and if I still need someone, I'll take that 6-month appointment, but I'm going to see somebody. There was another one that it was 6 months out. Oh, a friend of mine had been at a TED Talk, and she said, Karen, they were talking about long COVID. It sounds like you. Talk to, let's see if we can get you into the doctor. Well, the doctor was a researcher, not a seeing patient doctor. I asked him who he would recommend. He told me. I waited 6 months. I went through all this stuff. I don't know if some of you have ever been put through these things for older adults where can you remember these things? And there was like this whole list of things for maybe 20 minutes. And I'm like, okay, they're going to tell me now they got the brain, they got this other thing. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to find out something. I sit down with the woman and she's like, your brain is like way better than people your age. You have, they went off on all these things that I had really scored super high, and I'm sitting there bewildered. Why can't my brain work? And I had heard rumblings about ADHD and long COVID. And as soon as I even brought up ADHD, she goes, you don't have ADHD. She didn't examine me. She didn't really know, but she immediately said, you don't have it. I said, well, okay. She goes, you can focus, you can do this. And I let that go. And then I'd say around the time you guys had asked me to speak on this, and it was around the time that I started working on this, I read more about ADHD. And in my 30s, I had read about it. I thought I might have it, but I didn't want to have it. And I don't know if anyone in this room has ADHD, but to me, it was shameful. If I had ADHD, it was a detriment as a businesswoman. So I wouldn't explore it. It affected how I raised my kids now that I look back. In my 40s, I met a woman who literally said to me, someone introduced us, and she said, you have it. You have, and she had been not only had it herself, but researched it, wanted to write a book on it. And I did have it. I went to my doctor, he diagnosed me, put me through, the stuff that you go through. I took some drugs for a couple of months, but I didn't want to have it, and I wouldn't take the drugs. So I started thinking this time, if there's a connection, I don't care. I will take whatever I can get as far as, whether it's medical, whether it's counseling, whatever I need, I want my brain back. And to me, I have a very sharp brain that is very creative and comes up with solutions like that. And I still could do that stuff, but where I'm missing it is completing things like, really, we have a magazine that I have not been able to get out. My brain doesn't process the same way. And so, so now, for my long COVID, my next part is I am that's lessons learned. You could go back one. I am going to pursue this whole thing about ADHD. I am on drugs right now, but a generalist, my family doctor prescribed it. I really want someone who's going to know a whole lot more about the brain and ADHD. I am going to go back to the woman specialist brain person who said she didn't. I feel like sometimes when we go to the doctors and specialists, you are in and you are out, and they don't really care. And so I feel like in that specialist I saw, she didn't really care. I'm not like trying to beat up someone, but they see so many people, whatever. Okay, so this is what I would say are my lessons learned. Don't give up. Don't give up. Research more. And it doesn't have to be long COVID, it could be anything. No one else is going to care about your health more than you do. Even your family. You are going to care more because, my husband is the kind of guy that doesn't know how to research or ask questions, But I am. I'm going to keep asking until the doctors just get fed up with me. If you're waiting for a specialist, maybe don't wait. Maybe book that appointment far out, but see someone else in the meantime. I feel like 2 different times in my life I waited 6 months to see people, only to not get an answer from that. And that's a year, and I'm older, and my years are kind of like. And keep questioning if the diagnosis doesn't feel right. I want my brain back, and I'm determined to get it back, and I still have good pieces of my brain that I can use, but the whole long COVID thing is real to some of us that are going through it. We really wanted to go away. And there was something else I wanted to share, but I don't remember what it was. Anyway, questions, and I got to tell you about the rat dog. So I do read Tom's Facebook posts and a lot of his emails, don't read them all, but my husband and I did not like Chihuahuas. We did not like either one. We went to a rescue, and the woman, my husband said the 2 dogs he didn't want, which I don't know what's wrong with dachshunds, but he said a Chihuahua and dachshund. I was there. I thought Chihuahuas were obnoxious little ankle biters. I thought they were yappy. I didn't want anything to do with them. Jessica Cook at the Yappy Puppy Rescue out in St. Charles, she said, would you guys humor me? And so she brings out these 2 little tiny Chihuahuas, a 5-pound and 6-pound little Chihuahua. They're 11 and 12. Oh, my husband said 5 years or younger because we don't want to go through losing them. We lose dogs, we cry a lot. So we come back out, and she's got these 2 little guys, and they fall in love with my husband first. I knew it was over. If they fall in love with him, we're going to take them home. And they said we needed to take both of them. So here we are. We don't like them, the breed, and we're going to take 2 home. We have had, we named them Bueno and Yachty. We had the most, and we always have had dogs, Maltese, Yorkies, but they were the most chill dogs. One passed away in March, and I am so glad that I now love rat dogs. And he's got a story why he called them rat dogs. Anybody with any questions? And I've never spoken like this before, so I hope it has made sense. I actually was asked to talk about this in November for another group, so I've never done anything like this. Usually I'm going to give you business ideas and tips. So, yes?
So you said that you started taking medication for the ADHD. Has that made a difference? And did they recommend things like meditation or exercise in addition to? I
haven't been to, I am seeing an ADHD coach. She has recommended some things that have been great. Meditation is on there. I want, my primary care doctor was not a specialist. I want to find a brain-specific doctor to help me with the right drug. I'm on Strattera right now. I don't know if I can tell a difference or not. I think that if you read about people that are bipolar and stuff like that, they can't tell when something's working. So it could be working, and I don't know it. My husband and I have this kind of joke about my left leg in a car. I'm always jiggling it. My father used to do that too when I was a kid, always jiggling it. And so I'm saying, am I jiggling my leg in the car? And I kind of think that's not as much. So maybe it is. Anybody else with a question or thought?
Thank you, Karen.